What's up, people? 10 top grandmasters are playing a close tournament in Uzbekistan right now, and in the fourth round we have this very interesting endgame between Ian Nepo and Abdusattorov. Abdusattorov was one of the leaders of the tournament with 2 of 3 points, and Nepo have one and a half of 3. So let's try to understand this endgame. Here we have an extra pawn in this knight endgame, who used to be winning because the knight's endgame is well known that is more or less similar than the king's endgames, but they are not completely the same, of course. And here the active king of black and the b3 knight attacking the c5 pawn, which not allowing the white knight to be active, makes that the endgame is holdable for black, especially because the king is active and the knight is attacking on c5. If this pawn was on c3 and white can move the knight with more freedom, white could be completely winning, but the knight being in the defense of the c5 pawn and the active black king makes the position that is holdable by black here. But of course Nepo is putting pressure. He played f4 here, great move, trying to advance his pawn majority is the most logical move, trying to advance the pawns. And here Abdusattorov made a mistake, who is not losing, but this move puts black in some troubles. Abdusattorov played here king d5. The king is fine on e6 because, okay, you are not going to take this pawn, because if you take this pawn, these pawns are going to promote with f5, f6, and you have no time to take this pawn, for example. A king here, g5, and you can take the pawn because now this move is coming, and black can defend the pawns. Or if you take here the same idea with f6 and h6, very typical theme to create a pass pawn. So for that reason, king d5 have no so much sense, because if you cannot take the c5 pawn while you are advancing the king. So here was strong ideas, for example, play knight d4, not allowing the white king to game to the center. And okay, I said that the black knight is well placed on b3 because he's attacking c5, and this makes that the d3 knight cannot move. But okay, we can return to b3 whenever you want, when we want. So for example, in knight b4, now we can just return to b3. And if white just trade this pawn, now the position could be a draw because there are only pawns in one side and black can defend this position. It's still not easy, of course, but it's a draw objectively. Or knight d2 is another possibility, just covering f3, f5, king f6, and now returning to b3, attacking c5, and it's not clear how white can make progress. But okay, Abdusattorov play king d5, who, okay, it's not my favorite move, and black is a little bit in trouble now, but it's still holdable. After g5, here Abdusattorov, he just should return to e6. That's the only move to hold the position. But okay, the problems are not over. King g4 and now king f7. But okay, white is still having, like I said, a way to put trouble for black. King f5 here, for example, if knight e5, yes, we can return and the c5 pawn is under attack. So if c6, like I said, this endgame should be a draw without the c pawns. But here white can play king f5, putting troubles, and now is the right moment to take the pawn. And after f takes, now again the only move to draw the position is g6. Great move by black, because after h takes only move, king g7, and now black is in third one because it's a mutual third one. If black plays, have a problem, but the problem is that white plays and white have problems, because okay, you cannot advance the pawn because I take. If you move the knight, I take the pawn with the knight, and if you move the king, I take the pawn with the king. So this is an interesting third one. But okay, Abdusattorov means that idea. It's not easy, of course, to watch take and g6. If you reach this position, it's easier to do. But from here, it's more difficult to see all of that. He play h takes g5, and now king f7. But the difference is that here we have this extra square with f4, because in the game he have no f4. He should play king g4. So for that reason, king e6 is better, not allowing the white to game to f4. So okay, of course, hard to do, but okay, it's true that take on g5 is a little bit strange, because now I have this pass pawn on h6 and it's a little bit strange to take. King e6, king f4, knight d2, and here the best maneuver for white to win more or less easy the game is knight f2, Nepo playing knight e5, who is still winning, but it's not the best. Knight f2 by Nepo. For example, king f7, knight e4, knight b3, and now knight d6 is more or less easy. So okay, knight b3 is a normal move, and now knight e4. The idea of place the knight on e4 is that now with white we're going to play g6, and the f6 square are covered. Knight d4 and now g6, that's the idea. To play g6, but then king cannot come to f6. That's why we place the knight on e4. The knight on e4 is a beast because he's defending c5, is covering f6, and is jumping to d6 to take this pawn one day with a check. So the knight on e4 could be a completely beast. And for example, g6, now knight b3 again, knight d6, knight c5, and h6. The knight endgames are so tactic. We always should pay attention to the tactics in the knight endgames. Or if king d5, h6. So that's the idea. Place the knight on e4, later push g6, later place the knight on d6, and finally the tactic with h6. That's the easiest way to win the endgame. Instead of that, Nepo played knight e5, who is winning too. Knight b3 and g6. Okay, the knight always can return to e4. But okay, g6 is winning too, but it's not so easy, because after king f6, knight d7, king e6, here Nepo missed the winning move. He plays knight e5, okay, returning to the same position who is winning, but here he missed the winning move, who was king g5. The idea of king g5 is just play h6, sorry. And if, for example, if black takes the knight, who is the first move that we should calculate, here the king move h6, pawn takes, and king f6. Not allowing the black king or to the knight to come to the defense of the pawn. So that could be an interesting tactic. If king e7, just h6 and king h6, that's the plan. And knight d4 is this move could put some troubles in white position, but white have this incredible move, knight b6. That's the only winning move, keeping the knight and covering the d5 square, which is important, because now the king is going to have many troubles to gain against this pawn. Knight f3, king f4. For example, if knight e5, king e4, and here black have no checks and is lost. White one day could come here and take this pawn or something like that. Or if knight e1, for example, king g4, knight e3, h6, pawn takes, and king h5. And if black give the knight for this pawn, later the king have no way to take this pawn. For example, knight here takes. The knight, okay, the king cannot come to d5, cannot come to d7. His only move is king e5, and now just, for example, king f7, king d4, now knight d7, king d5, king e7, and this is winning for white, because one day he's going to take this pawn. But okay, knight d4 could create troubles for white, but Nepo missed the idea of king g5, king f6, and he played king knight e5, just jumping around. And here he returned to reach the other position and maybe place the knight on e4. He finally understands that this was the idea. Here, okay, here this is the real blunder according to the machine, because okay, he can just return to his position, but like I said, he missed that. And he can return to, he tried to return to e4 via f2, but the problem, okay, if king e6, now he can return with the plan of knight f2, knight e4. But here abdusattorov defend well, playing knight d4. Okay, here not allowing knight f2 because knight e6. He played king e4 and now knight b3 again. You cannot play knight f2 because this pawn is hanging, so he tried that and he plays the king on g4, but okay, this abdusattorov managed to defend this position very well. By the way, it was a really interesting ending with mistakes by both sides, but okay, this was a not easy ending, of course, but I think that you can watch a little bit some ideas in knight's endgame, some pawn sacrifices, some tacticals. So okay, I hope that you enjoy and learn with this video. After this draw, abdusattorov still being in the first position and Nepo in the middle of the table. So let's see how continues this tournament in Uzbekistan. Bye bye.